Hello, welcome back to the Dark Elves Abridged. Last time we were able to bring down the lesser of the Lokhir invasion armies by sacrificing some territory. Then we captured some more territory ourselves from the lizard men, making our domain a bit more connected together. With a bit of help from save scumming, we eventually brought down the main Lokhir army as well, using our newly constructed good army. But that army was then completely wiped out in a stomp by the Avalon main force after they invaded. We need to focus everything on this situation here really. Although it's not that bad on the face of things, we still have a full stack garrison and 2/3 of the Black Ark stack left. That army didn't really get that damage in the previous fight because so much stuff routed early on that many of the units are alive. Anyway, we're going to basically focus everything on that. As I said, we're going to not do that whole invading the lizard man plan I was going for. All our forces will rush back towards the Awakening. On the way we can combine these two small armies. This will save us cash because you get a global penalty to upkeep for how many generals you have on the field at any given time. So that's handy. Right now I can actually walk into reinforcement range of the town. The thing is here, I can do that, but they have two armies, so the second army can attack my reinforcement army separate to the siege and stop me from reinforcing. Tried to do it anyway, and indeed the thing I just mentioned is what actually happened. They sent their second army to attack the guys that just walked over. This battle here is going to be no good for us, so we'll just retreat. The enemy's besieging force was able to reinforce that, didn't expect that, I guess I was too close. I also thought that maybe the Black Ark would reinforce like it did in the previous part, even though the place was under siege. It probably can't do it because it's actually no longer a Black Ark. Because the guy leading it died while the thing was garrisoned in a town, the Black Ark's troops got converted over to be a regular army. So now that's just a force inside the town, or is it? Because as we can see right here, even though the town is being attacked, that stack can't participate in the fight. I don't really know why, but it seems that we're getting screwed over by all of the technicalities one after the other with this whole Avalon thing. Also, as noting here, the enemy faction leader gets plus like 1,000 armor-piercing damage from the Sword of Kane being equipped. So that might explain why she's so powerful. Also gives her some super powerful magics as well. I'm doing the standard fare siege defense tactic of sending most stuff outside the walls. The idea there is to make sure the fights are happening in front of the towers and indeed in front of our archers, to maximize the use we can get out of them. The downside to this is the fight sort of happens before you're organized because you have to run outside of the gate right off the bat and the enemy arrive real soon, meaning we end up with a load of small fights and none of those are particularly good. So yes, we're really relying on the archers to do something. I learned in this battle again, the hard way, the thing I learned the last time I played Warhammer, and that is you can't use melee units to intercept siege equipment. So I ordered a lot of my units to run at the towers basically, and they just sort of phase through them and the towers keep going. So nothing was achieved, the towers will be able to reach the walls, it's not like some of the other Total War games where you can do something like that. And now we wait to see if our towers, our ranged towers, will bring down enemy infantry units while they're struggling outside the walls to kill off all of my routing stuff, essentially. This actually has more effect than it looks like it's having, as we'll see later. Meanwhile, the towers have reached our walls, so there are going to be lots of melees between our archers and the enemy's melee units. Not ideal, but it's our top tier archers here against their bottom tier melee unit, and there's the melee buff for us, so that might actually do something. Now we wait and see what happens, and what happens is essentially the enemy do eventually win all those melees up on the wall and clear everything out, albeit taking a fair few losses on the way. And they now come towards the capture point. I had my bolt thrower here, and I was firing at these sword masters thinking surely this is the perfect thing, a nice small unit being hit by all of these armor-piercing bolts. But for some reason, they don't seem to take any damage. In this case, usually the bolt throwers are nice and reliable to pick up tons of kills. But here I was like monitoring the health bar and I think maybe a pixel went off it after being hit by a couple of shots. Overall, disappointing, but it doesn't really matter at this stage because as you can see, the enemy's super buffed commander is rampaging through, killing everything, and all of our stuff's routing away. There was one last little satisfying engagement where some of our archers were fighting against these enemy tree things, and I used that blowing up ability I mentioned last time, gained by doing a right. It does loads of damage to those things, but not enough to actually kill any of them unfortunately, so they didn't do anything, but it felt satisfying, and here we are at the end of the battle. Looking at the kills, things seemed to go quite well. We actually really wrecked that first army. We got about half the enemy army destroyed in that battle, and looking at the kills on our units on the left reveals to us that our men didn't really do anything. It was pretty much all the towers that actually gained us kills in that battle, so it was somewhat useful to have bothered doing that siege defense in the end. But more usefully, the two enemy armies split up, and one of them's now standing right in front of our newly arrived reinforcements. We've actually got a pretty nice opportunity here, because this lesser army will now face what is essentially everything that we have, and that's not a good matchup for them by the looks of it. Down they go in the auto-resolve, and that's a nice bit of progress. Looks like we're going 1 for 1 on army losses right now, so we've lost a stack, they've lost a stack. Admittedly, we also lost a settlement, but let's not pay too close attention to that. Now, the other army is still weakened from the fact we did so much damage to them in the settlement defense, so I'm just going to run after them and try to engage them as soon as possible. We don't want them to recruit more units. They did get back to their territory at Pox Marsh and replenish, but with no extra units, they're still in a weakened state. Looks like I messed up keeping my two armies together there. They almost got me into a bad situation where my weaker army was facing them. Luckily I retreat and they then just sit in front of me. I engage with both of my armies. They retreat, but they can't retreat far enough. We can still attack with both armies this turn, leading to this battle. Still, it doesn't look all that good, even with our massive amounts of numbers here. The enemy just outclass us by the looks of it. The balance bar says this is somewhere between being impossible and middling. Well, it's not going to get any better than this, that's pretty much guaranteed, so we've got to try it. Well, as it turns out, once we're in the battle, that balance bar suddenly looks really good. One of these classic lying balance bar Total War issues. As for our setup, we've got our second army sitting on the flank of our first army, and they're mostly coming towards our first army. We can sit back and hit them with the bolt throwers for a while, so no need for us to do anything. As they come in, their faction leader appears to have upgraded from a horse to an eagle since we last saw her, but she's still got that Sword of Kane magic. She throws a spell over at our second army. It immediately takes out one of the units in the line, and because I was moving forwards, the things behind run into the spell effect, so we end up losing 2 units to that attack. Pretty deadly stuff. But the time of our revenge is upon us, because once the engagement between the two armies gets going, we've got that definitive advantage. Our bolt throwers are thinning out the enemy's archers, and they don't actually have very many left. Looks like some more of them are being distracted by the manticores at the back, and gradually killed as well, even better. Once they get in close, we'll have nice easy melees, and I can even use that explosive ability I mentioned to decimate one unit right here, right away. It's really powerful against weak units because it does kill the models, so it just wipes them off the field. With that, that's even more free units for us to rear attack the enemy with. As for their powerful faction leader, most of the second army and Lokhir have her locked down in a fight, and altogether we're starting to win. Now, all we need to do really is wait until we win this battle. You can see on the balance bar we've basically got them. We can brute force our way through. They've got no more tricks left. And while I'm here admiring our War Hydra just walking about doing nothing by the looks of things, at the back somewhere we do take out their faction leader. That's pretty much the end of this. I did chase them down for a while to guarantee some kills, but we don't need to do that. Because they retreated before the fight, anything left over will be deleted. On our side, no units lost. All the damage we took will be easy enough to replenish. I'm going to take the money option from the captive choices here because we are still losing a whole bunch of money, so any cash we can get is great. And as I said, the rest of the enemies are deleted, and that is that. But there's more to it than that, because not only do we bag this extra trait for taking down that legendary lord, but we get the legendary lord's Sword of Kane. We have the option of not taking it, but I thought we might as well take it and see what this does for us. You see the effects here, it does have some downsides. Mainly it makes Lokhir stronger for having it, but it makes playing the game as a whole harder because we have higher upkeep, and we're going to have less leadership on the rest of our units, and that is an issue because we do regularly suffer from routing. Still, perhaps Lokhir being overpowered now will make up for it, we'll have to see. As for the rest of this turn, I decided to move forward towards Pox Marsh. I thought we might as well try and take this place down before Avalon reinforce it or make a new army here. However, as I move towards it, we can see that another Lothern army is almost here. I thought we were done with the Elves after that victory, but no, here comes another wave, perhaps even more powerful than the previous ones, and who knows what else is out there in the fog of war. I don't think we've got away with this quite yet. over the end turn sequence, well, Lokhir basically just moved slightly closer. They didn't actually land, they're still in the sea, just off the coast. They're taking some attrition right there, which is handy for us. What I was wondering was, could they interfere with me attacking Pox Marsh? And no, they can't. We've got a reasonable balance bar there. I could just plough in, but I wanted to actually bring over the second army. Well, I did until I realised I can't do it. We're too far away with these guys who don't have all of the campaign movement upgrades from having the hero in the army that gives you those. So, I come back to this auto-resolve and thought I'll just quickly do that and run away. We don't actually get a very good auto-resolve there, although we can grab some replenishment from the sacking option. However, the place has been wrecked recently by the looks of things, so we don't actually make much money from the sacking. That's a shame. Anyway, we might as well have done that, and now I tried to make an ambush. I thought maybe Lokhir will land right here and fall into my ambush, but no, they just sail away in their turn, which is strange. They sailed all the way here, now they're going back all of a sudden. Either something's going on, or they know I'm here and they're trying something else now. Who knows, because now we can't see them. We also do face a battle this turn, because strangely the Pox Marsh Elves have a rebellion and it pops up in the ambush zone. The ambush actually failed, not that it matters, we just auto-resolve and kill them, and that is that. Once the elves have gone, well, Pox Marsh has no chance, so we come in with both armies now to take it over, and this time I am going to occupy it. Not the first time I've tried to do this. Obviously if that army just comes back, having my little defensive army here will be of no use whatsoever, but we're doing it anyway. The main thing we want to actually focus on is going back to war with the Lizardmen, and handily enough, we're at war with that place to the west of Pox Marsh, so that's going to be our main project. We'll hope the elves don't kill us too much, and use the time bought by them just not being around for a little bit to go and try to get another territory. I was bringing up a couple of heroes from down in the home province, and while doing so happened to notice there is actually a Lizardman army hostile to us near said home province, sitting right here. They're allied to the White Lizardman faction, Itza. So yes, they might actually sneak over and attack, and we have no armies to defend against that. More pressing was that there was actually a rebellion building up at the Blood Swamps, so this army, which was going to go help try to defend Pox Marsh, is instead going to go back to deal with that. Meanwhile, Lokhir, of course, moves over towards the next target. No garrison, or no stack garrisoning it, I should say. And a nice opportunity to get a turn of raiding while we wait for next turn there. At Pox Marsh, as mentioned, I am going to defend it with my army, somewhat futilely because we don't have enough to hold off a full stack if they actually came over to attack us. Speaking of not having enough, at Blood Swamps it's the same issue. I thought I could quickly go and stomp the rebels, but actually there's quite a lot of them. This army isn't enough for an auto-resolve, and I certainly can't be bothered to play that one manually, so I go back. The Blood Swamps does have a really good garrison army, so I'm going to hope the rebels attack me at some point so we can use that to bring them down. Anyway, here we are in the next turn, so let's go on and make this attack against the Lizardman settlement. Looks like we're allowed to do it right away, so that helps out. The enemy garrison is equal to us, but it does have a lot of skinks that are going to be up on that wall. Nice juicy targets for things like our dragon and manticores to just go right for. Nothing too special about this one, since it's just the only viable siege attack strategy. We're doing it again. I am doing some nice stupid stuff in the middle as usual. I always seem to put some units just in the center of the battlefield, always forgetting that everywhere on the battlefield is in range of the towers. And actually, the further away you are, the more towers you're in range of. I should have put these catapults closer, the ballistas, sorry. I was using them to try and break down the towers, but they're still going to get shot to pieces because they are sitting in the range of multiple towers. Anyway, you can see that inside, the Sword of Kane is tearing up the defenders while Lokhir watches. Need to get everyone up on the walls and go after those skinks. The manticores are doing their thing, of course, just jumping inside to start wrecking things, and the enemy are ignoring them for the most part. The enemies are so thoroughly garrisoned into the walls, they didn't seem to care that the manticore was killing them. And elsewhere, looks like the Corsairs, led by our melee hero, have hacked their way up and captured that part of the wall. Really, there's nothing to say about this battle because we just ran up, captured the wall, ran down, did a big blobby melee with what was left, and brute force won. But there was this little aerial battle going on at the back between the enemy pterodons and my dragon and a manticore. I thought Lokhir might really quickly tear through these enemies, and I guess he does, but not as quickly as I thought, because while he does have the Sword of Kane, his attack isn't as boosted as it was with the Elven hero because it has to get more and more powerful over time or something, as it turns out. So he's just a bit boosted at the moment. Anyway, the enemy stuff fighting my stuff over here by the wall eventually routs. There were some losses taken on our side in that little brawl, and one of our units nearly died, mainly due to the enemy Stegodon marauding around, or maybe it was a Basilodon, I always forget. And anyway, we took the place with no units lost, so whatever happened doesn't actually matter. There we go, a territory taken, and very handily it comes with the public order building, which is precisely what we need because we want to walk away as soon as possible. And this place may well rebel because we have done loot and occupy there, which reduces public order quite a bit and makes it reduce more in the future. There is another target for us. It's the place I didn't attack previously, the settlement to the south of Lokhir now, but I don't want to attack it. I want to end the war right now. I want to take what I've got and peace out before their army goes into my home territory. I could get moderate on the chance of them accepting a peace deal, and I went through various amounts of money I could give them to try and sweeten the deal, but none of them were able to get it above whatever the threshold is, basically. When it says moderate, it doesn't mean there's a chance they'll accept it. It means it's just not telling you if it's a no or a yes, and you have to press the button to find out. So, not really a fan of the fact it kind of tricks you into thinking there's some RNG to this, with the moderate being like a probability description. It just means something, and in this case it happens to mean no, as it turns out, so we do not get the deal. With no elves in sight at Pox Marsh, I figured I might as well cheekily sail down here and grab one of these sea encounters. It wasn't a particularly interesting one, but the reward was good. We get reduced upkeep and some money, and that's perfect because we need money and we certainly need reduced upkeep. With that, we're actually not losing money when you add in the settlement we just took as well. All good stuff. However, it looks like my absence at Pox Marsh was noticed because the elves are now coming back again. There's also a little lizard man army spotted to the north of that place we just took. Their presence is annoying because if I move away, that tiny army doesn't have no chance of coming down to retake the territory. What I decided to do is go up towards the old temple of Tlenken because it's still occupied by the Skaven rebels that took it from me ages ago. I thought we may be able to take this place back, especially because there'll be no garrison since it's a rebel settlement. And while I'm there, maybe I'll end up fighting that small lizardman army and taking them out as well. As for the elves, I can move back to Pox Marsh, but this doesn't necessarily help me in any way. The question is, will this army, plus the few extra units we get from the garrison, have any chance of stopping these guys should they attack? We can only see half of their stack right now, so we can't really do a direct unit comparison, but from what we can see, they've got some dragons, at least 2 dragons, and they've got high tier units, meaning the rest of it is probably also high tier units, given that I thought we are going to have absolutely no chance based on my previous experience in this campaign. So I tried to give up, I tried to move away from Pox Marsh. I actually didn't move away far enough. I think if they attacked it, we would have been drawn into that battle. Handily enough though, they don't. They go and sit by the coast like the previous elf army we saw did. Maybe there's some little issue with the AI and landing in that particular spot on the map. Anyway, down far away to the south, that pointless colony I set up on the edge of the map, hoping that nobody would ever see it, is attacked. That was where that lizardman army we saw went, rather than attacking my home province. Interesting enough. I thought, well, we could fight this, but it's one of these situations where if you can't guarantee you'll kill a unit, there's no point. And given how badly the auto-resolve in the end went, we probably wouldn't have killed any units, we probably would have just routed if we fought that. So, never mind, that's our colony down there gone. That lizardman army up north goes south, crossing a river, going towards the place we just took, so that's annoying, that's what I didn't want them to do. At Pox Marsh, it's time for us to run away again, getting serious about getting out of here, and we'll just let the elves do what they want with the area. I'm going to run to the west. I thought having this army help out will make things like this small lizardman army hanging around much less of a problem. If we have a secondary army to rely upon, we'll be more free to do decisive things with the first army. For now though, we don't have that luxury, so I'm going to do something undecisive. I'm going to move Lokhir back to defend our territory. So yes, if the other stack was here, we could probably take Tlenken this turn, which would be a nice distraction for the elves again. There is also the option of going northwest to attack that other Cult of Sotek place, but that's too overextended really. We'd be so far away from the action. At least here we can theoretically move back towards where the elves are and stuff. So we just sit around and really waste the turn for Lokhir. Things went well with that whole rebellion near the Blood Swamp because they did eventually come over to the settlement, and with that we get a nice army to help out, an army that's much better than our actual army here, and the rebellion is crushed. That frees up these troops to do something, and I immediately had something in mind. I want them to rush south, because now we know there is a Lizardman army to the southwest of our home territory. It might actually go in there and cause some mischief, so I'll try and defend. Can't say the same for Pox Marsh, just gonna let them kill us in that auto-resolve. We did though get a glimpse of their army at least. It had 3 dragons and like 4 phoenixes. Basically we're screwed if we have to fight them, so we need to try and come up with something there. The Lizardmen are very unaggressive. Both of their armies don't do much, and that's going to help us out quite a lot. Although with that smaller army, if it had moved towards us so it was in range this turn, that would have been nice. Our guy, our Black Ark man, is back alive again at this point, so I rebuild the Black Ark, and now I'm going to upgrade this thing with the increased weapon capacity, the things that make the Black Ark magic better, because someone in the comments somewhere said that it gets really good towards the end, so we'll try and use that at some point to our advantage. Now I'm going to be aggressive with Lokhir, because after seeing the Lizardmen not really committing to making any sort of counterattack or furthering their attack in the south, I thought let's just go for them. So Lokhir starts moving south, also getting a nice raiding opportunity, but they do then call my bluff and start moving towards the settlement. However, with their delay, the garrison will have replenished a bit, so now we'll actually have some stuff there. Lokhir just carries right on towards the target. We can't reach it this turn, but that's fine, because raiding is so profitable. The other smaller army is moving closely behind him as well. Couldn't get it to the settlement this turn. And this means the Lizardmen are free to attack it, but basically to conclude this whole pointless small Lizardman army saga, I just auto-resolve and they die pretty easily, so that's the end of that. And that frees up my concern. Now both Lokhir and the backup army can focus on moving south to attack the Lizardmen. However, they garrison their town with a new full stack coming out of the Fog of War, and the town already has a full stack garrison including some late game units. So a dangerous situation. Even with all of our stuff put together, we're still going to be at a disadvantage. We'll have to play this one very carefully, which will be our project for the next part, where we'll also be testing our defences against the elves, that being no defences. Well, we'll see how that goes.